What are the characteristics of an entrepreneur? So welcome back. Now this episode, I'm going to discuss what are the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Now, no matter what I say, you're going to probably think of something different. Welcome back. I'm Ted Thomas, and I've been involved in the tax lien and tax deed business for over the past 30 years. All right, now I'm an entrepreneur. I've been working from home, a small office at home. Now, just because it's a small office doesn't mean the revenue has to be small. Doesn't mean that you have a small amount of employees. From a small office, you can run a business today anywhere in the United States, and for that matter, in lots of parts of the world. So entrepreneurs have many characteristics. Now, generally speaking, most of them are willing to do work, and most of them are take charge kind of people, but they're all not the same. They're all a little bit different. They all want to be in business. Now, they're excited about being in business. Now, it's not easy to be an entrepreneur, and if you think it is, I don't want to sugarcoat this. I want you to understand it always doesn't work out smoothly. Now, if you go to let's say the SBA, which is a Small Business Administration, that's a division that the Congress started in the government to lend people money and teach them about business. They're going to tell you that in the first year, or the first 5 years, 80% of all businesses will go bankrupt or they'll go out of business. But over a 10-year period, as much as 96% of the businesses will fail. So I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I want you to understand that there's a lot of failures. So don't just read the magazines and look at the blogs and look on the internet and see how Jeff Bezos did and see how Steve Jobs did with Apple and the rest of those people. So what did they do? Even if it was Jeff Bezos and whatever, they had to struggle when they started. And if they had money and they had a lot of savvy, they made it. Everybody doesn't make it. So when I finish this video, I'm going to show you a business that I got involved in that was low risk, required a little bit of money, and most anybody that's willing to try can do the business. All right, I'll outline it and I'll show you in this business. But right now, I want to reinforce, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. So if you're a newly minted entrepreneur, here's my first advice to start with. Rule number one, don't quit your job. I know you're excited. I know you want to be rich. I know you want to be famous. All right, rule number two is what I want you to do is I want you to go back and review what was rule number one. Okay, and that is don't quit your job. You don't know what you don't know, and if you need money, it's a big problem. It's a big, big problem. Okay, now in this episode, I'm going to discuss what are the characteristics of an entrepreneur. Now, all of the people are not going to be Mark Zuckerberg. Everybody going to be Jeff Bezos. Most entrepreneurs start bread and butter businesses. They do one thing with them, or two things with them. They either start them and resell them quickly, or they start them and then they run them and then they grow them. All right, now both of those are two different skills. One is starting a business, one is running a skill. They're both different skills. Now, as I said, the Small Business Administration, they track these businesses, and the majority of them will go bankrupt over a 10-year period of time. If you don't want to go bankrupt, well, then check with the Small Business Administration, and they'll tell you why they did. Number one, they don't have enough money. They don't know how to manage money. And on top of that, guess what? They don't understand marketing. They don't understand sales. So you need to think about that. So over a period of time, you're either going to learn that ahead of time or you're going to lose all your money. It happens all the time. So that's why I don't sugarcoat it, because I know most people are going to struggle. I don't want to encourage you to get into something that you're going to struggle and not be able to do it. All right, now, going bankrupt sounds easy. All right, so the public is used to people. The guy went bankrupt. And they just, it didn't bother them at all. Going bankrupt might cause you a lot of problem. It might take you 5 years or even 10 years to recover from that bankruptcy. So don't take that lightly. Going into business is a real challenge. You're going to learn more your first year in business than you did in probably all of those 4 or 8 years that you spent in college. All right, so rule number one is don't quit your job. Rule number two is review rule number one. Don't quit that job. If you do and you run out of money, what are you going to do? What is plan B? I can tell you right now, people confiscate your assets. Attorneys come after you and they garnish your wages. Bankruptcy is not something that you want to think lightly of. So you need to have a plan, and you need to have money reserved, and you need to know what you're going to do as plan B. Now, what is this business going to get for revenue? How are you going to generate in the business? If you don't know how you're going to generate business and bring in money, and you don't know how to generate money, but don't quit your job. Keep your job because you're going to make a lot of mistakes. And when you do, someone's going to have to pay the bills. And what about your family? They get involved with you not because you're an entrepreneur, so think about what you're doing. Don't just jump into business. Starting a business and running one are two different things. So there's no single personality that works out perfectly. All right, so some of these people are eager beavers and they got a lot of drive. Then there's other people that work very slowly. Now, I don't know which one you are, but you need to start thinking, do you have a skill? Do you have something that people will pay money for? If people won't pay you money for your skill, then you're not going to do very well as an entrepreneur unless you're going to start a complete new venture that has nothing to do with your skill. Without a skill, it's almost impossible to be an entrepreneur. Yes, you could be a freelancer. Nothing wrong with being a freelancer, but make sure that you're taking care of how you're going to bring in the money. All right, now the public will accept you as an entrepreneur, and they understand that you could fail. But go back to what I said a few minutes ago. The marketplace is not going to accept your failure. Attorneys will sue you and go back for back wages. They'll go back for everything you can imagine. In other words, all of your assets, people are going to sue you for and try to get away from you. Successful entrepreneurs learn from their mistakes. So that means you got to learn fast. And if you got money coming in because you kept your job or you have big reserves, you're probably going to be okay. Having revenue coming in is the most difficult part. All right, so what skills did you previously learn? If your personality is such that you're outgoing and you want to be in business, that might be an asset. If you know how to sell, that might be an asset. If you know how to use computers, if you know how to teach other people how to use computers, whatever your skill is, you're going to have to market that skill. So marketing and sales is going to be an important part. So step back. What are you going to do to create revenue? If you can't create revenue, I can tell you right now. So most entrepreneurs should be worried about that. Now, what are the characteristics of these entrepreneurs? Folks, they're hard workers, but that doesn't mean they're smart workers. All right, they're willing to take risks. When you take a risk, remember what you're risking. You're risking what you've built up. So don't just frivolously take risks. You need to take risks very slowly and be very cautious. You need to learn how to handle failure a little bit at a time. You don't need massive failures that crush the business. So you've got to do little bits and little bits. You don't want to try to go up those stairs in one giant leap. You want to make one step, 2 steps, 3 steps, do it slowly. So what's your plan B? What if it doesn't work? Sure, you're passionate. Sure, you're excited. Sure, you want to work hard. What is your plan B when it doesn't work? If you don't have a plan B, I can tell you right now, you might not have the adaptability to be in business. So I don't sugarcoat any of it. I tell people, look, there's a 96% failure rate over a 10-year period. I didn't make up those numbers. That's what the Small Business Administration said. They said, we fund businesses. We tell people what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong. They try to help people, and they tell us 96% failure rate. Folks, that doesn't mean that you did a bad job. It just might mean that you didn't plan, you didn't have enough money, you don't have a skill that's going to be. So nothing to be ashamed of, but I can tell you right now, you're not going to be Bill Gates or like his business partner that went to the Harvard Business School together. Okay, what happens to business? Your business might grow so much it outgrows you. What happened to Microsoft? It outgrew Bill Gates. It outgrew Stephen Ballmer. They're out of that business. They're billionaires, of course, today, but that business now runs somewhere. So you might be good at starting the business. What about running it and keeping it going? What's my point? These are different characteristics and they're different people. All you have to do is start thinking about it, and you're going to say, yes, I'm enthusiastic. Yes, I have a passion. Yes, I'm willing to work hard. But working hard isn't the only characteristic you need. You need to understand that you're going to have to become a planner, and you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do when you have your failures. You will have failures. All right, so I'm going to expose you quickly to a business that eliminates a lot of the failures. And I discovered this business 30 years ago. It was simple. It was just a subset of the regular real estate. Well, traditional real estate is homes. It could be vacant residential lots that are buildable. It could be small farms, could be small apartment properties, but it's mostly homes. All right, a subset of that business is tax defaulted real estate. Those are properties that people didn't pay the tax. Well, the legislature takes action. And what do? They say, if those people don't pay the tax, we're going to confiscate the property. We're going to cancel their privilege of staying in the property. They take the property away and then they sell it at auction. So that's what tax defaulted real estate. It's not bank foreclosures, it's tax defaulted. They sell those properties at auction for 10 cents, 20 cents, and 30 cents on the dollar. And when they sell them, they delete the mortgage and they delete the trust deed on the property. So both of those loans are deleted from the property. So now you're buying properties for 10, 20, 30 cents on the dollar. So if the property was worth $100,000 and you only paid 30 cents on the dollar, well, you've got a lot of margin there to make money. Now, there's a business that makes money right away. I try to teach my clients, let's see if we can make $25,000 or $50,000 on one property and do that a few times a year. And so that's what we teach people to do. Now, do some of them make less? Yes. Do some of them make more? Yes. But the point is, we want to make sure that we're in a business that we can evaluate it before we start spending money. In other words, we know what the property's worth before we buy it, and we know what the starting price is before we buy it. So if we've got a lot of room and we've got a lot of margin, then that's a pretty good business to be in. All right, so it's just a subset of the traditional real estate. Now, there's huge profits to be made. Now, everybody wants to get in business, and they want to make money quickly. All right, it's going to take time for you to learn how to do it. But if you have a business that's existing, in other words, look at a business like this one that's been around 200 years, now it's an existing business, so you can figure it all out before you invest. Wouldn't it be good to figure it out before you invest? Now, I'm running out of time. I do want to say there's over 3,000 counties that will auction properties this year, all right? All of those counties are going to have at least one auction. Some will have multiple auctions. I didn't create the business. The legislature of the state mandated the business. If you'd like to have an auction list and see what prices happen in your community or other communities, you can go right below me, and then you can sign up and get a free auction list and see these properties coming up for auction that are going to be sold for 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar. My name is Ted Thomas.